Hello everybody, in this video, Destiny Wishon and I are going to go over some Amazon PPC and also a little bit of Walmart PPC strategies that are especially based on Adtomic, Helium 10 software for PPC. Now, whether you decide to use Adtomic or not, these strategies are applicable, whether you're using another software or you're not using any software at all. So make sure to pay attention and see what kind of nuggets you can take out and apply in your strategies. We go over things like what you should do on Prime Day, how you should tackle seasonality, what kind of look back windows you should be looking at when you're trying to measure the success of your campaigns, and a lot more. We actually recorded this live in front of an audience of individuals. And so at the end of it, you're going to actually see some of the questions that the individuals were asking Destiny, and you'll get to see her answers as well. So I hope you enjoy this video. Now, let's just take a big step back. Broad view, Destiny. General PPC strategy. What's some tip of the iceberg stuff you can just help people out with right off the bat?
Right off the bat. So I think one of the really big reasons we wanted to hop on this webinar is we were getting a lot of questions around ad type expansion and just how complex Amazon advertising's gotten in general. I think when we're thinking about Amazon advertising from an optimization perspective, the two biggest levers you're going to have are your keyword research, the keywords you're bidding on, and your bid management, which is the bid that allows those keywords to win certain placements on the page. So that is kind of our standard conversation is around those two variables. But then beyond that, you start getting into things like sponsor brand ads, sponsored display ads, sponsor brands video, and different creative opportunities, which is a lot of what we wanted to dive in here today and discuss. But one of the reasons we wanted to talk about ad types is everyone knows about sponsored products, right? Everyone understands that PPC is a core in the business. We've been training that for quite some time. It's now a core part of our launch strategies and things like that. But a lot of people don't realize the value that can be driven from a sponsored brand ad or a sponsored display ad. And that's really important to consider because only around 70 to 80% of your advertising sales should and or will come from sponsored products in a well-structured account. Your other percentage of sales should come from sponsored brands and sponsored display because it's unique real estate on the page. There's no overlap. You're actually winning a new placement that a sponsored product ad couldn't win. And I'll pause there and kind of give you a chance to chat.
Yes. Very important, points that you brought out. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about also was, I know we're going to probably have this maybe in Freedom Ticket later, potentially. So it's possible that somebody's watching this in the year 2026 or 2025 or something. But right now we're live and we are in 2024. And brands are facing a lot of challenges. I've only been selling on Amazon, since about 2017, 2018, around there. But even in that relative short time, there is a huge difference in just the landscape of search and the role that advertising plays in it. Now, did you have an example you wanted to show that kind of illustrates this, Destiny?
Yeah, 100%. I would love to just open up a live example on Amazon. So to your point, Amazon advertising has changed in a few different ways. One of the ways is within Ad Console. It's gotten a lot more complex, right? We now have placement modifiers. We have multiple different ad types. We have day parting. We have display, all of these different complexities. But the second reason Amazon advertising strategy has changed a lot is because of the state of search. So the reason I wanted to pull up Amazon Live right now is so we can talk through why you need to be investing in your Amazon advertising a little bit different. So I typed in sunscreen here, and that's a fun example to take a look at. The first thing you see on this page is this moving sponsored brand ad right here. So it's incredibly important because one, it's really eye-catching. Those lifestyle images actually slide through. Now, the lifestyle images in this carousel format's in a beta right now, but I'm sure everyone has seen the custom image that is at the top of the page. So if you're not investing in sponsored brand ads, you can see why this is a huge miss on your end. This is the number one placement at the very top of the page. It has a lifestyle image, which forces you to stand out. But not only that, it's still pay-per-click. What I mean by that is you're still targeting a keyword and setting a bid. So if your sponsored ads aren't performing well, it's because of your optimization, not because of the ad type. So kind of stopping there, a few other benefits of a sponsored brand ad is you're advertising 3 products. As you can see, we have 3 different SKUs here, but you're only being charged 1 click. You also have the opportunity to write copy, which is a huge value add. And again, the imagery. This is important because Amazon search results are so competitive. We know that the main levers that convince a customer to convert are price point and reviews. So what do you do when you're well priced and have good reviews? You have to look for that next competitive advantage, and that is using your branding. And Amazon's giving us better brand building capabilities. So that's my spiel about sponsored brand ads at the top of the page. I'm going to pause real quick and see if you have any questions on that before I move on to sponsored products and sponsored display. Are you good with that, Bradley?
No, I do have a question. Like for example, this person maybe has 3 different kinds of exact sunscreen, right? You know, maybe those differences are SPFs or whatever. But it's a no-brainer for him. He's going to put his 3 kinds of sunscreen there, and he's targeting this keyword sunscreen.
Yep.
Now take, for example, me, who's got this Manny's Mysterious Oddities brand, right?
Yep.
Now, if I'm selling 3 kinds of coffin shelves, all right, hey, it's pretty, it's a no-brainer. What I should be doing for the coffin shelf keyword is put each kind of my coffin shelf on there. But, you know, now I do a variety of spooky products. Let's say I only had 1 coffin shelf in my spooky brand.
Yep.
It's kind of embarrassing to say that I have more than 1 coffin shelf. I don't know what I'm selling these days. But then now I also have like a let's say I had a coffin-shaped bath mat or a bat-shaped bath mat and maybe a coffin egg tray or something.
Yep.
Now, should I, what would I do in a situation like this where, hey, coffin shelf is a good keyword. I really only have 1 relevant product. Should I still go ahead and do the sponsored brand for that keyword and go ahead and put my other quote unquote irrelevant products, or should I focus on more broad words?
I would say, in short, both. To your points, if you have more broader products, they may not be as relevant, but at the end of the day, you're only being charged for a click. So if a customer is not interested in the other products you have that aren't as relevant, they're probably not going to click on your ad. So that's kind of a one simple answer. But the second thing you can do is you can always drive your traffic to your store page if you have your store set up instead of 3 different products. Or you can run a sponsor brand's video at the top of the page. So that's a very new option that we have, is to run a video ad similar to this, which is focusing on 1 product at the top of the page. So even if you only have 1 product, even if you have complexity or variations that maybe don't overlap within categories, you can still run sponsored brand ads to 1 single ASIN. You just need to adjust your format a little bit. And again, this video ad is cost per click. It is a CPC model. So even though all of us here are watching this video play over and over and over, Sunbum is not getting charged. They are only getting charged if I watch the video, decide I'm interested, and click on the ad. So it's really relatively low risk for us to run these strategies. And to your point, maybe I decided to instead of targeting coffin shelf, because search volume is low, let's target Halloween accessories. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot more broad, and I can create a video showcasing all of my Halloween accessories, my coffin shelf, my bath mat, whatever I have within that realm. And then I can use my creative to tie it all together.
All right. What else are you going to talk? What other types are you going to talk about?
Yeah, so I was going to layer in sponsored display as well, because that's another ad type that I think gets a little bit of a bad rep because it's really complex to run. But at the end of the day, sponsored display can also be as simple as your sponsored product ads. One of the things that we like to do is pull our sponsored product search term reports. And every time you have an ASIN in that search term report that's driven a sale, we harvest it and we put it into a really specific sponsored display product targeting campaign. And the reason being is that ad typically shows up right here. Now, this is not an ad right now. I'm not being served ads on my browser. But sponsored display ads show up directly on the product detail page. So it's another really good opportunity to expand your presence on the page. And one thing to note is, again, all of this real estate, which is how I like to view Amazon advertising, does not compete. So sometimes people will ask, if I'm bidding on protein with a sponsored brand ad and a sponsored product ad, are they going to compete with each other? And the answer is no. They don't overlap. They're very unique placements. And when you run multiple placements on a page, subconsciously your customer is much more likely to convert because they're seeing you everywhere. So not only does it add a level of legitimacy, but it's just playing into the customer's mindset that, hey, you're everywhere, you know exactly where you're going to be. And that drives a really strong increase in conversion rate, which can be proven through things like Amazon Marketing Cloud, but we don't have to dive into that now.
Quick question for this. Here's what I've been doing lately, and you tell me if it's right or wrong. I've just been testing this on some of my other accounts, but what I've been doing historically actually is, with Atomic, I have obviously keyword harvesting rules, right? Mm-hmm. But it's called keyword harvesting, but it's also ASIN harvesting because, for example, my auto campaigns, of course, could show me for ASINs, and I could get some conversions on there. And so obviously if my auto campaign discovers an ASIN that I haven't been targeting before and gets me a couple conversions, I'm going to want to target it. Yep. Now, what I have Atomic doing is I have Atomic putting that in a sponsored product ASIN targeting, but I also have it automatically going into my sponsored display.
Yep.
And now I also have it doing a sponsor, if I have a sponsored video for that for that product, a sponsored video ASIN targeting campaign, which I didn't even, like a month ago, I didn't even realize existed. I hadn't created new campaigns in a while. But is that a right tactic to do, where I'm just blindly putting it in all three? Or do you think that each of those has more unique cases where I should be maybe having Atomic segregate these a little bit more?
But at the end of the day, again, it's unique real estate on the page. So if you find 5 ASINs that you've converted on from that search term report, you can put all 5 in your sponsored product targeting campaign, your sponsored brand product targeting campaign, your sponsored brand video product targeting campaign, and a sponsored display product targeting campaign. And all that means is, if you look at your competitor's product detail page, there's different placements for different ads. So your sponsored display campaign, you're going to show up directly below the buy box. Your sponsored video product targeting campaign, you're going to show up in the video carousel above the reviews. Your sponsored product targeting campaign is going to show up in the sponsored carousel. So you're just winning unique placements. It's not, again, competing with each other from a bid perspective or a budget perspective.
Okay, makes sense. All right, so let's talk about. I kind of touched a little bit on it, but automation. What kind of automations do you think sellers should be leveraging? Obviously, those who are using Atomic. It's kind of hard to automate when you're just on your own, unless you're some kind of whiz at Excel and macros and things like that. But what kind of automations do you think people should set up when using Helium 10?
Yeah. Well, for any one ASIN that you have, you should be running a minimum of like 10 campaigns. I mean, depending on your budget. If you're spending $5 a month, no, it doesn't make sense. But if you're fully maximizing your coverage with all of your different ad types, with your ranking strategies, with your profitability strategies, and then you layer in manual targeting, automatic targeting, keyword targeting, and product targeting, that is where software really comes into play. At the end of the day, from a consistency standpoint, you know that we recommend breaking out your campaigns into a very granular structure, right? One campaign, one ad group, one ASIN is our typical structure. So I think the biggest things that automation, specifically something like Atomic, comes into play is obviously bid management. You need to be optimizing your bids. That's the most important variable that's going to drive the ACoS or ROAS that you want to hit. Bid management is more important than amazing keyword research. It's more important than pretty much anything else in driving your target ACoS or ROAS. And a lot of people don't have the correct insights to optimize their bids by hand, either algorithmically, or maybe they don't understand a click versus a sales attribution. And all of those variables kind of cause misconceptions. So the biggest thing from an automation standpoint is bid management. I think the next biggest thing is just campaign creation. Within Advertising Console, it gets pretty complex. When you start creating your sponsor brand ads, you need to select your landing page. You need to select your type. Is it a video? Is it a regular headline search ad? Are you driving to a landing page or a store page? Are you uploading a custom image? All of these different variables. And when you have a software like Adtomic, it can make that process a lot more streamlined, especially when you guys have like the same AI rules built into it when it comes to image creation and things like that. I know creative's always a really big variable, but I think the next aspect is that harvesting call up that you had. Unless you guys want to be doing keyword research every single day on all of the long tail terms that could drive someone to your listing and product research, right? Everyone knows that they need to do keyword research and competitor research when they're creating their listing. A lot of people don't consider how many new products enter a category weekly or monthly. And every time a new product enters your category, that's an opportunity for you to advertise on their listing and win sales because you have more reviews, more ratings, and more history than a new product, right? So considering how evergreen both keyword and product research is, you need to create amazing harvesting rules. So you're not just relying on auto campaigns, which we all know is relatively inconsistent and poor budget distribution, to take those harvested terms and put them in your manual campaigns across ad types.
Awesome. Somebody asked a question here in the chat. We're going to get to the questions at the end, but they were like, hey, I want to see how the rules are set up in Adtomic. So let me actually go ahead and pull up one of my accounts and actually show you guys a couple of how I have some of my rules set up. So let me share my screen. So like, for example, here's one of my promotion, my keyword harvesting, I guess you could call it. We call it promotion rule groups. All right. Now this looks like so complicated. It took me like maybe 30 seconds to do this because it's, all of these campaigns were kind of created at the same time. What was kind of like what Destiny was talking about, why you need automation. Sometimes you can create 5-10 campaigns for one product and it's very tedious, but I did this in just a few minutes. And the rules is actually just 30 seconds. So these are all the campaigns I have going for one of my coffin shelves, right? And you guys can see here, I've got a product targeting campaign here. I've got a performance campaign. That means it's an exact manual. I've got a sponsored display campaign. I've got an auto campaign. I've got a video campaign that is keyword target. I've got a video async campaign. I've got a research campaign. That's what I call my broad, or sometimes I do phrase for there. And then I've got a sponsored brand campaign. And then so basically what this rule is set up is basically saying, hey, if we find keywords like in the auto or the research campaigns, and what rule did I put here? If I get 2 orders, it looks like they took away I did have an ACOS here, but somebody else screwing with my account, they took it away. But if I had 2 orders and I think I had put like 40% ACOS or something, then I said, hey, I want you to go ahead and create that in my performance campaign. Also put it in my research, my broad campaign, put it in my video keyword campaign. All right. Automatically. And then if it finds the ASIN, it goes ahead and puts it in those ASIN targeting campaigns, which I have 3 of them, as you can see here. So I just do that and then it's done. Let me actually see if there's any. I don't think there's any I have that I haven't done yet, but let me just show you how it would look. For that one, I don't have. Oh, there is. There's new keywords here, so I haven't looked at this in a few days. So here is one of my flows. It said, hey, you got. Let me actually open up the columns here. Clicks, PPC orders. All right. So take a look here. I got 55 clicks on this keyword, and I got 8 PPC orders. Would I want to target this? Of course. So I just hit this button right here, and it's going to go into those campaigns that I had specified. Here's one of my newer products, Bath Mat, right? I sold $41 worth of products on $9 of spend. Should I put that into my research campaign and my performance campaign? Absolutely. So watch this. I just hit this button and it's done. Like now it's in that campaign or those 2 campaigns just with a click of a button, no downloading reports or anything. So that's kind of like how I have it set up. Let's talk a little bit about, the new kid on the block, AI, right? Like what part do you think AI should have in PPC in general? You talked a little bit about the, kind of like what powers Atomic behind the scenes, but I think there's something else that has to do with AI that you like using it for.
Well, I think there's quite a few things here. One, let's just talk about bid optimization, because I know we're having a conversation about this in the chat, and I know it's something that's really important. A lot of people think they can manage bids on their own. The problem with managing bids on your own is there's actually two variables that aren't shown within Ad Console. One of them is the time of the click, and one of them is the time of the purchase. Those are two very different things. So the majority of customers don't actually check out the moment they click on something. I think Bradley and I have joked about this in the past, but that influences your bid management. Because let's say you log into your Ad Console on Monday and your spin's really high and you're not driving sales. So you decide to pause all your campaigns because Monday is terrible. What if your customers are all shopping on Monday, but they're not checking out until Tuesday? So when you pause all your campaigns on Monday, you actually lose all of your sales from Tuesday, right? So AI from a bid management perspective is really important. And when you have a tool like Helium 10, you actually have access to the API within Amazon that gives you click and purchase data versus Ad Console does not. So that's just something incredibly important to think about when you're looking at your bid management solution, is that you have to consider both of those variables, and software is the only solution to give you that API information. The second part is incredibly important is brand building. So I just showcased an amazing ad at the top of the page with that moving carousel, right? You could not miss it because the images were moving. Well, the argument's always of the Coca-Colas, the Johnson & Johnsons of the world, they have a professional marketing team. They have incredible insights, right? But at the end of the day, we all have access to that now with AI as well. So I've personally used Amazon Advertising's generative AI for sponsored brands. I've used Helium 10s. And the argument's always well, I requested 3 dogs and 2 humans to be in my video and it's terrible. I'm well, yeah, that's expected. But when you test really simple prompts, it's fantastic. It's a really good solution for getting those creatives up and making sure that you're first to market with everything from a video perspective, from a lifestyle perspective. AI should be considered for internal operational efficiency. So that's something that we highly recommend people run. That lifestyle image on our end has increased click-through rates upwards of 200% for all of our sponsored brand campaigns. So if you're wondering why people aren't clicking through on them, add a lifestyle image, create a lifestyle image using Sponsored Brands generative AI, and you'll be first to market.
We've got Prime Day coming up in July.
Yep.
What are some strategies that people should be leveraging with that in mind to get ready as far as the advertising side?
I think the first thing is to decide what your goal is. Is it fully just on maximizing profitability, or is it taking advantage of all of the customers on the platform, driving sales and improving your organic rank? Both of those are strategically very different. One of them, you're typically running deals or discounts to maximize visibility. And if you are running deals or discounts, that means you need to start creating campaigns now focused solely on maximizing visibility to your deals and discounts. So we run Prime Day specific campaigns where we focus a little bit heavier on top of search so we can stand out on the page. We also make sure we're optimizing our bids and budgets a little bit different. I think last year, as we all know, is the largest Prime Day ever, or largest single sales day ever. And we can expect the same this year. If anything, I would probably expect it to be higher because I feel like consumer sentiment around spending is up relative to what it was right after COVID when we were still a little bit pandemic stressed. So I think it's creating your campaign specifically for Prime Day. It's focusing on that visibility. And then all the small things we've talked about today with sponsored brands and sponsored display, make sure you're maximizing. Those ad types do incredibly well because people are window shopping during Prime Day. They're a lot less loyal. They're window shopping for deals, and that's an opportunity to win so many new customers.
I got a 10-minute question for a 1-minute answer. General differences of cross-channel advertising. Like, let's say I've got my Amazon advertising strategy. How much of that is applicable to my Walmart advertising strategy, for example?
Well, considering the majority of the Walmart product team has probably worked at Amazon at one point or another, and they don't need to reinvent the wheel, relatively similar from a product standpoint. When I say product, I mean sponsor product, sponsor brand, sponsor display. The advertising products that the teams have created are relatively similar. Where things are different is your customers are different. They're typically, Walmart customers, I think, are more used to brand loyalty because they've been going into the same retail store for the last 10 years and they know what shelf they want to buy their products on and they know what brands on those shelves. So I think understanding that your customers are going to have different shopping habits is super important. But from an ad type perspective, they're relatively similar. It's keywords, it's bids. You can now bid on competitors. You can now roll in sponsored brand ads. Walmart auto campaigns, I think, are more beneficial than Amazon auto campaigns because the algorithms are also a little bit different for both. But
all right. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. Now, let's get to the audience's question here. Casey says, I've got a $5,000 budget. What should be the division between sponsored products, sponsored brand, sponsored display?
Yeah. So I think, probably around 3 to 4K is going to be driven your sponsored product ads. When you're running on that small of a budget, a lot of your focus is on improving your organic rank. Sponsored products are going to be the strongest lever you can pull to really improve that organic rank from a sales and conversion rate perspective. Sponsored brand ads, though, are going to drive a lot of education for your video. So you need to have maybe 500 to 1,000 split across a video ad, which you can create within Ad Console, or a sponsored brand headline ad, which again increases the ability to convert because you have a lifestyle image and copy. Sponsored display is going to be the smallest breakout here because sometimes if you don't have a competitive advantage, if you're not a lower price, if you don't have a specific color or flavor or style variation, they may not do as well because you have to convince someone who's looking at someone else's product detail page to convert. So just keep in mind that sponsored display may not scale as easy, but it's still a big opportunity.
Can you dive deeper on bid management strategies using Helium 10? So, we didn't always have this. It was almost fully powered by AI. It was just based on, hey, what's my target ACoS? And then our AI would help you with that. But now we've got this custom, bid rules that people can set up. What do you like about that, Destiny? What part of that do you think sellers should be leveraging, those who are using Atomic?
I think the easiest part and the best part is similar to cost control. It's being able to set a target and know that your bids are going to be optimized towards that target. Bid optimization math is actually really easy. If your ACoS is bad, you lower your bid. If your ACoS is good, you keep a bid and maybe increase your bid, right, to get better visibility on the page. I think where it gets unique is Atomic allows you to also create your own rules. So I know a lot of softwares, like people don't like having one cost control. Maybe they want one campaign with a higher ACoS target. That's where Atomic gets, in my opinion, valuable because you can then segment and create your own rules based off your specific brand strategies. Maybe you're launching a brand new product. Everyone knows new product launches are not going to have a 20% ACoS. So we're going to be able to create a rule that is maybe a little bit more flexible than a product that is a legacy product.
Yep. And so I was just showing people while you were talking some of this new setup where I could have all these criteria, things based on my ACoS, ROAS, clicks, impressions, PPC orders, et cetera, and set basically my own rules for how I want Atomic to give me suggestions or to automate my bid management. One thing that always comes up is the look back period. All right. So here there's tons of options, but here, we've got, hey, previous day, last 2 days, last 14 days. What do you usually put here of when you want the look back period to be for whatever rules that somebody might set?
This is just a great topic in general. Typically, I like to look at 30 days. I think that's where the majority of my personal decisions are, like 14 to 30 days. The reason being is if you do under 14 days, you're within the attribution period. So again, not all customers click and purchase at the same time. And it takes 14 days to get all of that data to say, hey, this is the click and the order contribution. If you go larger than 30 days, then you may be getting data that's not aligned with your current product conversion rate. And what I mean by that is, let's say 60 days ago, I had 5 stars and now I have 3 stars. My conversion rate's going to be a lot lower now, and I need to update my bids based off my most recent data. So I don't like going too wide of a time frame because I feel like it's not quite accurate. I kind of like that sweet spot of I have full attribution, but I'm also looking at recent enough data to understand my current conversion rate.
a question about, that comes up every now and then. Invalid clicks.
Yep.
Amazon says, and they do. I've seen Amazon has this report about how much they actually, take care of it, and they're able to police. But just talk about that in general. Like, what can people do if they feel that they're not getting all their money back from the invalid clicks?
This is always a tough question because I'm going to be completely honest. In 7 years and over $500 million worth of spend manage, I've never actually seen an actual case of click fraud that was worthy of reimbursement. And there's nothing you can do. It's out of your control. For one, that's kind of my standard answer. Two, Amazon does report on this. You can pull the reports within your account to show what Amazon's already actively doing. And it's not always fraud. It's even small things like I personally will scroll through a category for a couple hours when I'm doing keyword research, and Amazon will learn my habits and also not consider my clicks as an actual click. It's fraud, right? So everyone kind of thinks like, oh, Amazon advertising drives all of Amazon's revenue. They're going to shove more and more clicks and they're not going to care if it's fraud or not. But at the end of the day, if Amazon advertising wasn't driving such a strong return, no one would invest on the platform, right? So it's actually in Amazon's best interest to drive a high ROAS and have clean and honest clicks. So all of that to say, Amazon's already actively doing this. I don't typically ever see click fraud. It's usually more often an optimization issue.
Yep. All right. Last question of the day is from Joan.
Ooh,
Joan says, how do you deal with seasonality impact when you're deciding on your look back period? Whew, that's a good one.
It's a great question. So we'll look at the in-season period, right? I'm going to open up Campaign Manager. I'm going to open up all of our different tools and say, hey, during Christmas of last year, we were converting at 20%. Let's increase our bids to whatever it needs to be. That's the best answer. We don't run lifetime look back windows for bid management, but I will make the independent decision to go take a look at that seasonality and figure out where I need to be for the next season.
Awesome. All right. Well, Destiny, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. For those of you who are Helium 10 Elite members, every other week you get similar training like this with Destiny, who helps you guys out. If you're watching Freedom Ticket, make sure to check out the other PPC modules that we have here in Freedom Ticket about PPC, and then also the upcoming PPC Academy, where we'll have newly updated modules that really go deep into advertising. So Destiny, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge. I'm sure we'll be doing other events with you soon, especially with Prime Day coming up in a couple months. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everybody for your questions and attending this today. See you guys later.
Thank you.